if you're from a culture where that wasn't a thing, and then you just started hiccuping and someone was like, "Gah!" You were like, what the fuck are you doing? Why would you do that to someone?
Those are good fake hiccups.
Thanks. I've been practicing my fake hiccups.
We do. Hey, everyone. Thanks for coming in. We were just talking about how easy life is and how there's not a lot of stuff that needs to be done ever. Life is kind of like a tube that you sit on, and then the river takes you wherever you want. You stop wherever you want, and then you get back on the tube and you go more places. No roadblocks, no fees. And no bills. That's just what a life is.
The only obstacles that you run into are the fun ones that you had in store the whole time. Like, ooh, I bumped into a rock there, just like I wanted to.
Yeah, the fun rock.
The fun rock.
It's a very wise rock. It gives you advice. Hello, how are you? Shut up. I mean, good to see you. The rock.
That rock gets so old after a while, but it keeps on asking you how you are. This is an advice column episode, and so with each advice column episode that we do these like every other month or so. We put a thing on Patreon and ask you for suggestions for advice, and we also put it on Instagram at mindunderpod.com, and then we just dig into what you guys want to hear about and go back and forth a little bit. So we usually start off with some Patreon questions and then get into Instagram stuff. Do you have the Instagram stuff pulled up?
I got the gram pulled up, my pants pulled up, my ass pulled up.
Oh, it's the perfect place.
2 swings and a miss, and then doesn't take the 3rd swing. Pants, ass, and then the ball just like goes right by into the catcher's mitt, and you're out of there.
It's still impressive that you get 2 swings on, and
that's true.
2 whiffs in a single pitch is amazing. All right, so this first one is from Cosmic Joy. This is kind of a little bit for you, Ramin.
Cosmic Joy. I wonder if their name is
actually
Joy.
Cosmic.Josy.
Josie.
So Cosmic Josie, is that what it is, or is it
that's
just
probably a person's name that's
typo?
Josie. Joy might not be named Joy, although Joy is a name. Do you ever wonder about that? People whose names like is like Hope or Joy. That's a lot of pressure to be called Joy.
Yeah,
to
really
be called
is.
Hope.
Have you heard the stuff about? Have we ever talked about the like occupational determinism of names before on
we
here?
Must have, because I believe in that. Yeah.
Yeah, where like if your name's Dennis, you are so much more likely to become a dentist.
Yeah.
Like that's just statistically a fact.
Your dentist's name is Crentist? That was a good line.
You hit that out of the park. I
don't know why I'm feeling Carlin-y today, or like whatever bastardization of Carlin this has become, but
people are gonna love it. We all impersonate it.
We all like smelling every part of our body. Smells good, smells bad, smells medium. The undecided voter.
What?
All right, time to get to the questions.
What's the undecided voter? Okay. Cosmic Josie, sorry. Sometimes it dawns on me that it's a real name being used in a thing. How do I stop being afraid of showing the music that I create to other people?
Well, I don't think you can ever stop being afraid, but I think you can get less afraid. It's probably scarier to do it for the first time. I believe someone else asked a similar question, and we told them to release it under a pseudonym. If they're afraid of releasing it under Josie, like maybe just call yourself, I think we said name your band Elon Musk's Kid, and then someone actually did that. But yeah, I don't know. I think with any how do I stop being afraid question, you're looking for a shortcut, and there's just never a shortcut. Just imagine it's a cold pool and you have to go into the cold pool. It sucks. It just sucks. Just admit that it sucks and I have to do it. Like, here's a track I made.
That's very good. I was thinking about what are your thoughts on all the life hack stuff? Because there's life hacks there's amazing practical ones that are like
lemon in the dishwasher or something.
Home eccy type stuff always, like the hole on the back of the pot handle is to put the wood spoon in, so when you're stirring your spaghetti or whatever, you can put the wood spoon in and then it drips back into the pot rather than needing to get it all over the counter or whatever, or have some other thing.
It's just good branding, or I guess just over-exaggerated branding to call that kind of stuff life hacks. Like, because it's really neither. It's more like a little helpful tip, but that's too 80s sounding.
What are your thoughts on like the I guess when I think of life hacking now, I think of the people that are like, here's what you do. You turn off all of your lights before bed, and you do this and you do that, and you wake up earlier and you establish this routine, and then it resets the dopamine, blah, 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 blah. And as someone who's very into science, I still hear that, and I don't know. It sounds like you're throwing a lot of words at me that
I haven't seen that type, but anything that's suggesting to change like deeply ingrained behavior based on like, just do this. Even when it's a whole book, it's tough.
Yeah.
Like a whole book, like the 4-hour work week, or like the 6-minute body, or that like it probably does something for 1% of people, but 99% of the people are going to not change.
Yeah.
But still get the book. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the books. I love the books, but
when you're reading the book, you do the things. You start doing the things for a while, and then you need a new book after that, because it's the act of reading the book that makes me like, well, I wouldn't be reading through this shit for, like, I could be watching the new Game of Thrones or whatever, but instead I was reading The Power of Habit, great book that I recommend, by the way. But instead I was reading The Power of Habit, and so because of that, I am going to make new habits for myself and reinforce them with this new knowledge that I have about our dopamine and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. But really, but really, have you seen there's an image floating around that's like, for your body, and then it's like the 5-hour body. For money, I'm a badass at making money. And it shows 12 books and what you need each one for to really change your life. And then as I'm looking at it, I'm like, I've read half of those, and it still didn't really change anything. Unless it changed it in a way that I didn't die. Like, because maybe had I not read those, I would have been so bad at my body, so bad at money, that I'd just be on the street now. But since I read them, I made it to this point. I didn't become a millionaire. I didn't even become 100,000-aire. I just became current me.
It is that is a odd, dark, like reprieve that the brain goes to be like, could be so much worse right now. Just like, well, if I wouldn't have done all of those things that I worked very hard at that got me nowhere, maybe I would have been at the bottom of the thing.
Yeah, you'd have been in the negative, in the hole.
Instead I'm kind of sort of treading water, and my nostrils and sometimes even my mouth are able to get above the water for some breaths and stuff. And had it not been for all of those things, I'd be sinking to the bottom.
Exactly. It helps me.
That
I
feels
like
good.
it. I don't know. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves. If everyone could read book or look at a life hack meme and then become like a ripped millionaire, there'd be a planet of ripped millionaires. Not that you're bad if you're not ripped and you're not a millionaire. I know most people are probably not that, but still.
Just a planet of that would be an amazing movie of instead of some zombie apocalypse, there's just a book that comes out and immediately makes such an impact that everyone is a ripped millionaire with incredible love lives and
you have just
social
complete
lives
emotional intelligence is through the roof. All conflict you can say like, that's valid, your feelings are valid, I'm holding space for that. I would have felt angry 5 years ago, but I don't. Or I do, but I don't. Actually, I kind of am like that.
I want to be a space holder more often. That's a great job to just hold space.
Yeah. Ram Dass suggested that. I kind of liked the idea, but he was asking the White House, like, is there anyone there that doesn't do anything? Do you ever have someone that's in the cabinet that their only job is to just hold space and just sit there? Like, that's brilliant. Someone get that job.
On paper, because I'm sure it happens anyway, but usually you're clicking around for solitaire or whatever new game there is.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
It's not solitaire anymore. Yeah, that doesn't count. You just literally are there to do nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So put it. How much stage fright? Because you've had AIDS. Various things that you've done and AIDS on top of all of the things that you've done, you've also had AIDS.
Yeah. So, that was a rough weekend.
Over and over again. It goes away and it comes back. You've gotten AIDS, been cured of it, and then gotten it again. So many times it's incredible. But I remember doing stand-up for the first time and wanting to run away and I can't get on stage right now. This is the most horrifying thing I could put myself into. And then same thing happened when I started interviewing scientists. I remember hauling all of my equipment and a luggage bag into a university, which I didn't go to college. I hated school. What am I doing here? And Harvard,
I've been on television.
Yeah.
What am I?
And that was scary as well. But I think stand-up was the scariest one. What's the worst? Because now it's odd that art was the thing that, because it could have been a lot of things. You do so many things. It could have been a lot of different things that popped for you or whatever. And it just happened to be the illustrations, probably because I imagine, just put more time and effort. And
I think it's because I showed up more consistently with it. And I think I showed up more consistently with it because it's the least effort thing to do, which perhaps Twitter is, but I never focused on that. But there's people that all they do is Twitter. And it's a surface area game. It's an infinite game on the internet, and whoever has the most surface area of stuff covered wins. It's really that.
There's whole companies. I know a person that had a whole, their whole business is just a whole team of people making up weird Twitter handles and tweeting from them. And then whenever one of those handles starts doing well, then it's all hands on deck. And now 6 people work for this Twitter handle, sitting around all day trying to think of clever tweets or whatever for
I'm against, I know I said people should be able to release stuff under a pseudonym, but I also believe that that shouldn't be allowed. I kind of have both of them. You shouldn't be able to make fake accounts, and you shouldn't be able to have a private account. Everyone should have cards on the table.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
But what if I want my privacy? I guess that's true too.
It's true.
Tough, especially if you have kids or something. You don't want weirdos like threatening your kids.
Mm-hmm. So, what about? You're doing Are you doing your first solo set of music at the
Pretty
campout?
much. Yeah. Actually, no. I guess that is true. Yeah, that's the first time it's just been me up there. Not with a band, not with an orchestra, not as a stand-up gimmick. Because I've done some sets with music as a gimmick to stand up, like where you'll do jokes on top of a looped piece of music or something like that. And then you're not doing either in that case. You're not really, that's why people don't like guitar acts. Not saying that, Nick Thune is, because Nick Thune is good and Henry Phillips is good and there's exceptions, but for the most part, people are like, a guitar act. And I think it's because that you're not playing music really, and you're not telling jokes purely. You're using them both to kind of elevate it. Like, it's kind of funny that he says an okay one-liner and then strums this
What song. If I do two things poorly? That does drive me crazy. There's this pianist that I follow now. That's basically. There was a couple things where I was like, oh, that's pretty funny, and then I followed them, and it's basically a Zach Galifianakis on the piano kind of rip off, and it's like, that's not, you aren't doing Beethoven, you're playing like piano stuff that most people could learn in a month, and then throwing like okay one-liners on top.
And it works though. It works, and that's why it's hack, because hack works.
Mm-hmm.
But even Doug Stanhope likes Henry Phillips. Did you hear the story about how he's been friends with Henry for 10 years but didn't ever want to watch his set because he knew he was a guitar act and he didn't want to not like him afterwards? He liked that he had this friend, and he's like, I don't want to hate you. If I see your act, I'll hate you. But then he watched it. It's like, oh no, this is actually good and creative, and you can break the rule. But I'm just saying in general, and I was saying it more as a way of criticizing myself that I once used it as the looping gimmick, and I saw that it's kind of these jokes that normally would have done okay do really well in the context of the music in the background.
So what's the amount of internal pressure that you feel doing a solo set for the camp out? I mean, it's going to be such a receptive audience, so it's going to be an easier crowd than going into a dive bar where no one's listening.
Oh yeah, but I guess I worry about it. I worry about it more than I would just doing a set of new jokes. But I also don't, because I remind myself that it's a different game. You can get away with less variation. You can't drone on a joke for a minute, but you can drone on sounds for, if something is just kind of spacey and interesting, people's attention doesn't move because I don't know, because you can talk over it, I guess.
So how do you stop being afraid of showing the music that I create to other people?
You should have music friends, trade tracks with each other. Be like, hey, we'll send each other tracks we're not sure about, or ones we're really confident about, and have a little game where you can like bounce jokes off each other, but as musics, so that they get it. They're like, oh, I like the way this is produced. I think you should lower the bass on this, kick up the vocals on this, lose the reverb, stick that up your mom, all that. Definitely
the mom part is the most accurate of all of that. I remember that I had a friend, before I told anyone that I didn't want to tell anyone that I wanted to be a stand-up comedian. It was a secret. And I shared it with one of my best friends because he was wanting to do music. And so we're like 19 or 20 or maybe we were even like 22 or something like that, because I was getting ready to move and actually do it. And we kept in touch, and he just never, he would make music by himself and everything like that. And he would just never, ever, I was like, you just need to go to an open mic, do something, get it out there. And he never did it. And it's anytime I talk to him, which is like hardly any, I can't anymore. He's like gone insane. But
this is a tragedy.
It's like a sliding doors for like I try to remind myself of it whenever I'm like, what did I get myself into? I remember that he's had all these jobs as a parking lot attendant or whatever that he just like did nothing but, you know, anytime we talked, just yelling and complaining about all of the world and his job and how and just
I would too,
not
after a
go
day.
to just would not go to play music, which is all that he ever wanted to do. And now this is 20 some years later.
That's a good motivator to think of where you would stay.
Yeah. Think about where you'd stay, and that ain't great either. So go out and fucking be willing to embarrass yourself. I mean, with music, I mean, stand-up is such a peculiar, I'm biased, but when you bomb at stand-up, it is something special.
It's worse than any type of bombing on music, I'll say that, because it's you that they hate.
Yeah,
they don't hate the thing you're making, they hate you.
Music, like, I mean, like, I didn't like that, or the type of music, or it was too loud, or whatever. And stand up, they will despise you as a person.
Yep. And you feel it. They don't have to yell stuff at you. You just feel it. And it stays for a while. It doesn't stay forever. And that's good. But it stays for a while. And people still do it. Even the best still eat it. If they're not just playing to their own theaters all the time. Like Bill Burr could still eat it today.
Yeah. Bill Burr can eat it anytime.
Tonight, I mean, he could be eating it right now.
I think that was one of the really interesting. I mean, you and I already knew this stuff, but I thought it was one of the really interesting things to include in Seinfeld's documentary, The Comedian, where he did bomb on stage in front of a small crowd, and it's like
during the height of Seinfeld,
you can be the most famous comedian there's ever been, certainly the richest, most popular show there's ever been, and get on stage and people are just not having it.
And yeah, and he owns that, because Bill Burr is not that level yet. Like Seinfeld made it to the level of Einstein, Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali. Yeah, like when you think of the thing, oh, so you're like Seinfeld then? Yeah. Oh, so you think you're Michael Jordan? Oh, hey, Einstein, you think you're going to solve, unified field theory?
Yeah, he made it. I'm sucking on these. I had these little vape pen things.
Nicotine or THC or CBD?
It's 1 part THC and 2 parts CBD.
I like that.
And so this is it's a company that no longer exists. I had this guy come to a show when I was on my Good Trip tour in 2016, 2017 or whatever. And people would hand me drugs and stuff all of the time. And some of them I'd just give to the wait staff or whatever afterwards, be like, could you? And some things I'd be like, oh, we got to take this way. This seems sort of interesting. And I had a guy that was like in this tweed, literally like a tweed jacket and stuff,
nice.
Very professorial. And he came up to me afterwards, and I always had this big merch line for that show. And he starts giving me this rap about his like company and blah, blah, blah. And I want to give you these samples. And I take the samples and I don't listen to a thing that he's saying. I take his card and everything else. And I don't smoke weed very often. It doesn't agree with me that well. And he then, like a few days later, I'm like, oh yeah, these things. I have them just in my pocket or something like that. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll try a little weed right now. And I try it, and it's this very mild, chill buzz. And I'm like, this is the best weed that I've ever had. And I found his business card, and I called him. I was like, hey, will you tell me your whole rap over again, because I wasn't paying attention the first time. Like, this just happens to me so often. And so he was like a neuroscientist or some shit, and studied emotion and got into like, how do you trigger different emotions using these kind of synthetic weeds? A whole thing. He sends me some more stuff. And I have my girlfriend at the time, Kate. She tries it, and she's like, this is the best high that I've ever had. This is amazing.
2 for 2.
2 for 2. And then I was meeting her parents for the first time. Her mom and dad had split up decades before or whatever, but they lived in the same city. And it was at Christmas. And I went to her mom's house at Christmas. And her mom's house, they're super fucking conservative. And I go there, and her brother and her sister are there. And Kate's like, you got to try this, to her brother. And he tries it, and he's like, this is so good. And then it's just like mild, you know, it's not like ripping a bong or something. It's just like very nice, easy, pleasant. And then her sister tried it, and she was like, this is amazing. And then she like runs downstairs and is like, hey everyone, you gotta try this stuff that Shane brought. I just met her family.
Oh no.
Hyper conservative family, and she's like, you gotta try this weed that your daughter's new boyfriend that you're now just meeting brought here.
How old is the sister?
She's, good question, probably about my age.
Oh, the older.
Yeah, a little older. And I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified.
I'm horrified, and I know it probably ends okay.
I just launched into my most sciencey seeming spiel, because it's not like a joint or something. It's this little.
Yeah. Mitt Romney smokes them.
Yeah.
Mitt Romney's wife, Laura Romney, smokes it.
And so I launched into this whole thing. I knew the spiel and everything else, so I just made it like really sciencey seeming. I think no one ever said it was actual weed.
Smart.
But I was horrified, and then the whole they ended up passing it around the room. It's like hyper conservative family that had never smoked a weed before.
And you're telling me it's out of business?
20 people, and they were like, this is the best Christmas we've ever had. I'm not kidding you. That's literally what they said. Like, all of them. They're like, this is the best Christmas we've ever had. And so then I had the guy on Here We Are a couple times too, and I was trying to like partner with him. I was like, what? Because he had all these plans to like get it out of like dispensaries that, you know, conservative people or like older people would feel trepidatious about walking into, and would have the like hippie connotation and stuff, and putting them in these, you know, like making it look like a Mac store or something, you know, like just this technology or whatever. And he'd send me some, and it was tragic. What happened was they'd send it around to dispensaries, and I think it still exists out there somewhere under some other brand, but they'd send it out to dispensaries, and the bud dealers are such like hash addict crackheads that a mild buzz does nothing for. Like if someone were to hit this that smokes weed like every day all day long, they would have to smoke like all of it to catch a buzz, whereas it lasts me for like a year.
So the people that make the decision are not the target demographic, so they're just like, this is worthless, you need to give it 800 Pineapple Express Kush hashes on it.
And then it went away, and I now have like a couple of the last things in existence, and I only...
That's a shame. Is it at least cheaper, or would he still be charging $40 for a mild buzz stick?
What cheaper?
The pen. Is it, if it's a milder buzz, are you also paying less money? Because if you're buying a beer, that should be cheaper than buying a Jack Daniels.
Right.
Bottle.
I think they seemed reasonably priced to me. I always got them for free. He always like wherever I would always have a map around the US of wherever they were, because they're expanding in other states. And anytime I was in that city, like, okay, they expanded into Providence, Rhode Island. Terrific. When I'm through there, and I would just pick out whatever I wanted and pay for it, and then he would just reimburse me for whatever I bought. So I never thought about it.
Nice.
But I remember being reasonably priced.
And now he lives under a bridge.
Now he lives under a bridge.
Damn.
Yeah.
Two friends that have met tragedy. One of your friends that was destined to be the next Elton John parks cars. The other one was supposed to make the bridge between hippies and conservative families enjoying cannabis. Lives under a bridge.
It's an important lesson because, you know, the first lesson was about not pursuing your dreams and the downside of doing that. The next lesson is about actually executing your dreams and then having and executing it very well and still it failing horrifically.
What could he have done different, though? I know this episode isn't about him, but still, we got to close the loop. What could he have done different?
I have no idea. I didn't know
just
enough
been
about his
born into
business
an
plan.
alternate timeline.
Yeah, an alternate timeline probably would have helped. That would be handy to like have available as those alternate timelines.
Or hired pharmaceutical reps that push other pills to doctors, like hire them to push it to the dispensaries.
He might have got in too early because it was still in the, you know, when Denver just became legal and all of these other states just became legal. So, and when everything just became legal, everyone's like, I did the same thing. When I first walked into a dispensary a legal dispensary for the first time in my life, I spent $800 on, I just walked in and I was like, give me your finest everything.
Was this during foot broke time?
Before that. And they did. And then I realized when I tried some of it that, I don't like marijuana. Like I liked the idea that I could get it, but I don't like it actually. And this is way too intense.
You just bought like eight male prostitutes, and as you're getting plowed, you're like, I'm not attracted to men.
Oh, shoot. I just forgot. The opportunity was there to get 8 male prostitutes. I thought to myself, how often does this come along when you can just have 8 guys run a train on you? I'd be a fool to turn that down. And then midway through, you're like, what? I don't even like anything like this.
Yeah, 95% of the way through, I don't like this at all.
Do we have Instagram?
Oh right, the questions. Ooh, we do
first
this though.
Of all,
this is what this show
this is what we do. Come on, and
this
and
is how we do it.
This is we gave some decent advice.
Yeah.
I'm proud of us.
Where do I start? At the extra long one at the bottom? This one is too long, so I'm going to start at the top. All right. Well, I think Megan Death has had a question on every show. So what better way to celebrate Megan Death
the tradition alive
than throwing in a death question? Megan Death writes, "How do you shake the intense emotions after coming out of a bad dream?" Normally, I don't know if I can shake them off that quickly. Kind of like hiccups, where while it's happening, you're like, this, I got to figure out how to stop this. And then once it's over, you never think about the future of how will I stop this in the future. You're just out of it, and then you don't care anymore. Much like with poverty, I guess. When you're poor, you're like, we've got to get communism, socialism now. And then when you have enough for the next couple months rent,
we need to
like,
stop all of the communism.
Free markets are necessary for any functioning society.
Necessary.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have any advice? Do you have any advice for getting out of bad dreams? Getting out of the emotions?
I have a little bit. I don't relate to the experience in the same way, although I have experienced that. It's happened to me pretty rarely. Usually, when I pop out of any kind of either a dream or a nightmare or anything else, there's like 3 seconds where I'm acclimating before I'm like, oh, thank God. Oh, all right, life. I'm back.
Yeah.
Even the best of dreams are the most horrifying thing. Yeah,
if they get weird enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's never normal. You're never just flying. It's always the weirdest, like beyond AI art type of dolly, just disconjointed everythingness.
Have I told you the like jumping thing that I have?
No, what do you got jumping wise?
That's a regular. That's before my feet and stuff, by the way.
I thought you were going to say before COVID, because we all say it so much that just any sentence. Like I went and got some gum yesterday at the store, and this was before COVID. And
so I have dreams. The strangest thing about it happens in a few different scenarios, but so why don't I just set it up and then I'll tell you the strangest scenario that it happens way more regularly is that I'm jumping around on various things, or I'm jumping like Spider-Man or something, like jumping from rooftop to rooftop. It starts small. It starts really reasonable.
Okay.
And then I just start jumping further and further distances. This happens all of the time. And then one of them, I jump, and I just jump so high. I'm like, oh no, I jumped too high. And now I'm like 400 feet in the air. And I'm coming crashing back to the ground. I fucked up, jumped too high. And and then I always wake up before I hit, and it's always a relief. And that happens all the time to me. But what happens even more to that is a variation of it, where I'm water skiing. I don't think I've tried water skiing twice. I don't even think I've ever gotten up on the water skis.
Really?
But in these dreams, I was very little the couple times that I tried it. I'm sure now that I'm such a dominant man, and
you look like you could do it without the skis.
Yeah,
you look like you could just put your feet up and it would be enough.
Like so athletic and coordinated and everything. I'm sure I'd be great at it now, but it's the same thing. I start off, I'm learning to, and I get it. I get up, like, whoa, I'm skiing now. I'm gonna try to go over a little bit of the wake. And I jump over, and then I jump back, and it's working, and then eventually it always ends up with me jumping up the wake, and I'm like 400 feet in the air.
This makes so much sense. This is exactly the type of dream you would have, because you cannot live with just doing the little ones. You have to ramp it up. It's got to get bigger projects, more exciting, and then eventually you bite off more than you think you can chew, and you think it's all going to collapse. But then it's okay. You wake up.
Yeah, and then I wake up. Yeah, so
but you're never going to jump off just the right one. Just you have to see where the line is.
No, I don't accept good. It's funny because for how low of states that I feel on a regular basis, when I do feel good, you would think, let's just keep it right here.
Yeah,
let's keep it at good. Can't.
No, because part of feeling good is wanting to get more stuff, right?
Yeah.
Or not even get stuff, but
just more of the goods, whatever it is. It doesn't matter if it's sitting there, meditation or anything else. It's more
up, ramp it up. 15 black.
Yeah.
So how do you get rid of that shaking it off? Wouldn't it be funny to start spreading one of those solutions where, they say scare you for hiccups or drink water upside down for that. It's like, okay, to shake off a nightmare, you're going to want to clench your butt cheeks and stick your tongue in a warm watermelon for 4 seconds. That's
Isn't that
what's going to
hilarious?
fix it.
It would work too, I promise you. Do exactly what Ramin just said. Can you repeat that?
Okay, I said you clench your butt cheeks and then you put your tongue in a warm watermelon for 4 seconds. Not 3 seconds, not 5 seconds. It's got to be 4. If you undershoot it, the nightmare will intensify. If you overshoot it, you will go back into the nightmare and live there forever. And that's how we ended up in this reality.
So you just have an actual full watermelon next to your bed, like where you might normally have a glass of water.
Yeah, it'll be room temperature. It's great.
And you have it on just a little heating tray or something, or one of those kind of buffet table things where they have the
4 candles under it.
Yeah. You just have some candles under the watermelon, and there's a hole cut in the end of it, and it's very close to your face. You wake up, you clench your butt cheeks first. Don't forget that part. And then you stick your tongue in that warm watermelon. I can pretty much promise you, if a doctor said that to somebody and they actually did that, it would work. I mean, that's what most of these things are doing. That's what most of the scare someone and say boo and they'll stop hiccuping or whatever. It's like, well, if you're from a culture where that wasn't a thing, and then you just started hiccuping and someone was like, "Gah!" You're like, what the fuck are you doing? Why would you do that to someone?
Those are good fake hiccups.
Thanks. I've been practicing my fake hiccups for so long.
I heard
now.
Dina Hashem gets them every day.
No.
Yeah, but
I
only
don't
for like
know
a
who
few
that
minutes.
is.
It's a comic, I think New York based. Got in trouble with
A few minutes is fine.
because had a joke that had X-Tentacion in it, and people got mad because you're disrespecting him. It was a whole thing.
I don't know who that is.
Tentacion. It's a SoundCloud rapper.
This is one of those moments where you tell me
I didn't know
one
who
of
it was
the most
either.
famous people on the planet, and I have no idea who it is. Or
I didn't know either.
Okay.
I only knew because of the controversy.
So she talked shit about. Can you say his name one more time?
Triple X Tentacion. And she didn't even talk shit about him. She said like, so, you know, this rapper died recently, blah, blah, blah. And then tells the joke and how he died with a lot of money on him and how it was like, you know, an ad for Venmo or something like that. It was not disrespectful to the person at all. But just when you mention someone died and it's part of a joke, some people like you don't joke about the dead guy. Yeah.
I can't believe, I mean, it's just hard, you know, that people die. And when it happens, we just never talk about it or process it or make light of it in any way because death is very serious.
It is.
Which brings us to our next advice column from David Mooneyham, who is...
good last name.
Oh, hell yeah. He was on the show Forged on the History Channel, where
is that about swords?
Yeah. They just like throw a bunch of old pots and jewelry at you, and they're like, "All right, try to melt this down and make it some weird knife or whatever."
That's fun.
Yeah, it's super fun. He's gonna be at the campout.
Nice.
He's gonna be forging stuff and showing people how to forge. It's gonna be dope. We just talked briefly tonight, in fact. But so he has...
I'm going to make a MUM Excalibur. I'm going to melt down this mic stand into a sword, and then it'll just like be an impaled microphone.
God damn it. I hate when you have good ideas like that. It's always the worst. 'Cause, like, yeah, all right. Well, we'll probably have to do that. Fuck. And it's a whole thing that comes along with it. Have I told you Outhouse updates lately? My God, it's gotten out of... Outhouse destination. Our Outhouse started as we have an artist who's awesome, one of our dopest supporters, and she saw pictures of Lakeside Retreats and was like, oh, there's an outhouse there. I actually happen to work part-time for the company that makes those outhouses. Great. Get us one of those outhouses so we can decorate it. That's how it started. Then she ended up should I even be saying that? She ended up moving on from that job, and so she's like, we make
lost the contact
from scratch. And so then it became a whole thing. And there's someone that was going to get us all the materials and stuff, and we don't know if that's going to happen. And then I got some other person involved as well that's built custom outhouses before. It's been a whole goddamn journey. And then we decided to burn it at the end. We're burning it Sunday night at midnight. And I wonder if I can even say this. Well, I'll just write her and have McCool bleep it if not. But so all these things, I figured out how to get a fucking toilet and a septic thing and how to get the porta potty people to, because otherwise outhouses are nothing but a nightmare. It's nothing but a nightmare. It's a compost toilet, which means you shit in it and then you turn the thing to like an empty space so another person can shit on it, and then they turn in it and like, nope, not doing that. And then they just happened to have an incinerator toilet at the property.
What if you fall in? Is that curtains? Or what if just too much of your ass falls in? And all that's left is like below your knees, and
it's not just like a flaming pit that you should like. It's after the fact.
Oh, okay, good.
But no, I wish it was the case that it would incinerate you easily, because it's actually the opposite problem. Is that one? It's a little bit of a chore anyhow. And then you get it in there, and it starts, and it's like an hour. It's an hour to an hour and 15 minutes to incinerate shit with this incinerator toilet. That's like $20,000. It's more expensive than a lot of.
You didn't get it, did you?
Cars. Pay for it?
Yeah.
No, Jesus Christ. I don't blame you for asking that question.
I'll ask it again. You sure you didn't buy it?
No. So they happen to have a spare one, like just sitting around. So I was like, this is perfect. And then I looked into it more, and like, that's not going to work either. And then we're going to need a septic system and or like a tank. We figured it out. I got a toilet like to borrow from a wedding venue nearby. It's been a whole fucking thing. And then we constructed a simpler version. We just had meetings about it. It's like at the moment, it's a 16-foot structure.
Wow.
That is very tall for better ventilation. Also, it will burn like really in a magnificent way. And isn't that difficult to build? Like, pretty simple build. And then I just got an email, and Mindy, who is coming in early to help starting on it, she just got COVID.
No.
And now she can't come until, like, she tests negative, which is going to be much closer to the festival. And so now I'm just, on my own, figuring out how to, like, all right, I've like framed things, and I've built additions onto houses before, and the framing for this is way simpler than that. But I also haven't done that stuff in like 20 years.
Yeah.
We have some handy people around to help. It's a whole goddamn journey.
but no one needs it, though.
No one needs it, and it's just for a joke that is not even that great of a joke. And because there's going to be porta potties around and stuff like that, plenty of them, but I'm attached to it, and I like taking things further than you should logically take them,
but of
because
course
that's funnier to me. And so I often just find myself going, what did I get what did I get myself into now that I have to cut so much boat carpet? And
you love making future hell for yourself.
I really do. I really do. So, but it's relevant to the question, which is any advice for overcoming existential dread, particularly as it relates to cosmic nihilism. Now, could you take a whack at defining cosmic nihilism for us?
What's crazy is that I just I saw some comment thread of people fighting with each other, and one person was sarcastically asking, like, "Oh, well, hey, genius, can you distinguish nihilism from existentialism?" And as I read that, I wasn't part of this thread. It was like somewhere else about something else, and I don't know what the difference between nihilism and existentialism is. Is nihilism just that all of this will go away and nothing really matters in the big scope of things, whether you're the best altruistic person in the world or you're Hitler at all, just you become worm food, the worm becomes sun food, the sun blows up, the galaxy blows up, the universe becomes a cold entropic everything fade away state. What's the point? What is there to get excited about if there is no permanence?
Without Googling anything, and just to make myself a fool and put myself out there and have people comment on.
We could use the comments.
We could use the comments, and I do like when people add their clarifications on things that I don't know shit about. But to me, existentialism has always been much more about alien anthropologist type stuff. It's been more of a detached observer sort of point of view, whereas nihilism has within it an inherent like dread and negativity to it that is like all pointless and whatnot.
And
so,
what are they asking about? They're asking about cosmic existentialism?
yeah, as it relates to cosmic nihilism.
How do they relate?
So nihilism is the belief that nothing matters. Existentialism is an attempt to confront and deal with meaningless.
How are they different? Other than they're use different words to describe them, but it feels like the meaning is still the lack of purpose.
Existentialism is that you are like confronting and acting within it and moving forward through the like potential meaninglessness, whereas nihilism is more of a surrendering to it, and you know, like more of a nihilism is more defeatist potentially. By the way, as I say that, would never blame a soul for being a nihilist or an existentialist. I'm probably both, and I think that I'm probably more toward the existential side, because I really love getting swept away in the big ideas of like thinking about the meaninglessness of everything is one of the things that brings a lot of meaning to my life. Like,
yeah,
I feel a sense of awe
this
when I
sounds
experience
like
it.
If it's causing you suffering, though, it sounds like the problem is to probably get out of your head more, and you're probably not engaging enough with the other things other than thinking about how to figure it all out and what's the pointism, you know?
What do? Just shake that thing?
Shake that thing, go outside, drink some water, drink some strawberry lemonade Powerade, drink some don't drink urine unless you're, trying to scare bears or whatever the guy that likes to drink urine does.
Or edit our podcast.
Oh yeah, our podcast editors love to drink urine that they're not allowed to not drink.
Mm-hmm.
They're working on unionizing, but we put an end to that. Now they have to.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. How do you answer the biggest question of them all? And then I'm supposed to say breathe and be in the present moment and focus on love. Because in the end, love is what matters. Thank you for listening. Subscribe and...
Any advice for overcoming existential dread? I mean, I think, to me, it's... I think maybe I should check myself a little bit, but I think a lot of people would do well to just share that experience quite a bit more than ignore it. To me, I think that there is just no end to the grandiose imaginative stories that our consciousness will come up with to avoid the idea of meaningless or mortality or death or whatever that I think you end up coming up with this big story or attaching to some religious philosophy to be just as like an exemplar, but we all attach to different things. And I think that then you're still going to deal with going, but am I full of shit all of the time? If you come up with those stories, your brain is so smart, and it's of course going to question like, wait, what story from what? Like the Bible, not to like dig into Christianity too much, but it's the whole, I don't know enough about the Quran, but I was raised Catholic.
Convenient.
It was the Bible was written 200 years after Jesus supposedly was a Jesus thing and did his magical stuff. And most of the reason for that was because people weren't very literate before that time. Like the literacy rates were like 1% or something like that.
And there was no printing press.
There was no printing press or anything. So 200 years, like a generation's 30, 40 years, something like that. So generations, 5 to 7 generations before it was even written down. And then for the next couple thousand years, everyone just bent it to like the King James Bible was just King James being like, in the Bible before he took over,
Constantine.
It was just that God was the highest thing, and then kings, and then the lessers. And he's like, I feel like I'm like right up there with God. Can you like rewrite the thing so that kings are on par with gods? And the fucking thing that people, and so how can you not ever, I don't care how devout you are, and I get all of the evolutionary reasons and cultural reasons for believing those things, but you're still at the end of the day gonna be like, but really? Was that really true? Am I really going? So you're gonna end up confronting existential dread no matter what story that you have.
And you don't, even the science story that we're holding in our head is not true. Even the one Stephen Hawking held in his head is true. And our visualization of it as a cold, dark place with just some lights, and there's probably not aliens on them. And if there are, they're probably so different that we wouldn't even get to learn anything from them because they're just too different. They're not even made of the same stuff. There's no language we could ever meet in the middle of. It's just too 100% cold and lonely. But I don't know. You got to remember that you're the experiencer, and you're the only thing that's ever been the experiencer. So you could flip the script just like that. You could put every moment behind you and just rewire it into meaning. This is
an incredibly odd chance thing that we get to exist, and that we get to be here, and that we get to be experiencing this. And that's not to say that it's good. It's just fucking interesting, and
it's all right. There's like 100 candy bars.
Like kind of, oh yeah, like lots of things about it are terrific. But even in the, in the darkest things, it's like you get to experience that, being having a train ran on you for that one evening where you had a real smooth talker talk it into just like 9 guys running a train, and you're like, well, I'm an open-minded person, and like 8th guy, you're like, what? And so you're still always going to have to confront this.
That's the image you really want to remember. If you were to walk away from any episode of this, that's the one you want to think about. That's going to cure your nightmares, how to make friends, how to release your music, how to make money, how to... I don't know if we've come across these questions yet, but most of the advice questions are always like, how do I make money? How do I make friends? How do I not want to kill myself? It's like,
we got a lot of how do I not want to kill myself questions, which to me, it's like...
I'm going to treat that like a badge of honor. Twitter announced on its rules today that I will be banned for another 3 days. I take that as a badge of honor.
I could never censor myself. God, you do such a spot-on impression of Peterson.
It's okay. It's one type. It's more of a Dana Carvey type where he has his own thing with it, but it's not exactly.
Yeah.
One day.
I feel like he's like in clips that I've seen recently, he's been less just like clickbaity insane.
Oh, that's good.
I can't tell. I mean, it's
the thing about with anyone who is huge right now, they're going to have a lot of video content. We're not even big, and we have a lot of videos of us talking about whatever. Right. And it's easy. Like once you get into clip territory, you're going to look ridiculous in a lot of clips. And especially if you're a political pundit type of
But you're
war.
talking about anyone could dissect one of our episodes and pull a thing out of context and mischaracterize what we're saying. I'm talking about this is what they instructed their editor. Like, this was the best 90 seconds of the show. This is what represents everything that I'm about. That's the thing that I'm watching. I'm not watching like the got you, like he said a bad word in this thing. I'm like actually watching some of the highlights of some of those people's clips. I'm like, it's an odd choice.
Yeah. But I mean, when like I said earlier, anyone in the culture wars brand, because we're not culture warsy, we're trying to actually figure out what but really what's going on. And some might call it centrist, but I don't even think it's centristism. It's better. It's the best show in the world.
Something about this show is really just makes it the best thing that there's ever been. I don't know what it is exactly.
But if you're into culture war stuff, you gotta pick a side and have your sword and go at it every week. So I really can't judge anyone on either side of it. Although one side of it.
That's true. Everyone needs to make a buck.
Yeah. Well, now you have to make 40 a second. That doesn't make sense either. That's like the earlier swing. On to the next question. Or did we answer that question?
Yeah.
Existential dread? That's a better message. You never really get it answered. You never really get the answer of how to... But just don't do it. Don't slit your wrist. Don't shoot yourself. Don't take those pills. Don't hang yourself. Don't jump off a bridge. Don't jump in a volcano. That's my idea. Don't... But if you are going to do it, if you're going to do volcano, you have to mention that I came up with it in the suicide note.
Yeah.
But just don't do it. I was thinking of, instead of having a million things on your to-do list, just your only to-do list item should just be don't kill yourself. That's it. That's all you got to do. And then you're in the me club. You're in the great club.
I've had a lot. I've had the last few days of my life has been avoiding the ideations, and they've been intense. So it just pops up from time to time.
They love to pop in.
Fun, exciting things going on and things you're looking forward to. It's still. I wonder what's actually happening in the brain when you have that existential dread, though, of you're kind of thinking about the things that you would want to do as a thing, and then you're also at the same time measuring the probable outcome of that happening. And then I think the hardest part of existential dread is you got to go, well, is this just a defense mechanism for some story of giving up that just my dumb evolved body is telling me just to store energy for now, because doing the thing that's good for you in the long run is harder and more energetically costly than doing the short thing. And so I just think that there's a difference between the philosophical existential dread and then the sometimes just learned helplessness aspect of it that isn't actually real, but is just your body or the mood that you're in or whatever making this amazing exaggerated story of how nothing is worth doing, because the brain doesn't nuance any of your messages. I wish it did. God, what I would do for a little bit of balance instead of this.
There's no nuance anymore. It's like with the brain too. Why is the world also not nuanced? Because it's made of brains.
It's made of
all
brains.
The text on all this fucking stuff we're looking at right now on our screens, the website, the icons, the text that goes with it, the images, everything, it's all just brains made it. Brains made it through telling the bones and the muscles and the like circulatory system to interact with the other thing the brain made, and now we're just looking at a bunch of brain stuff.
And you're also talking about very practical things. You're talking about tool use and technology, whereas in the field of like motivation and existentialism or contemplating life or whatever else, it's just when there's not a clear with tools, you can make something and you can test it and you can see if it works and you can feel it and you can see it and you can improve upon it and know, or if you're learning a new musical instrument or whatever else. But with the question of what's this existence all about, you're never going to get any accurate feedback. There's no, you can't tinker with a thing and then it will like tell you if you like figured it out or got any further. And so in that kind of space, that's when consciousness really runs wild.
It'd love to run out.
Yeah.
What if the whole thing is infinite and eternal and meaningless?
Infinite, eternal meaninglessness.
Yeah, so it never goes away. It's always expanding in infinite different directions. It's always infinite complexity, built upon complexity, built upon complexity. But there's never been any meaning to it, and there's no meaning to it ever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would think that to me,
still a fun playground though.
I think the biggest, I think that's also a bias of the human mind. Is when we say there's an meaning to it. I think that there's something about our mind that's trying to simplify and look for the silver bullet or whatever, and that is not in line with objective reality. Whereas I don't think that life is void of meaning. I think that meaning is completely subjective and contextual, and what does it mean if I hit this thing right now? Well, it means this will go into my lungs. It means a different thing for my lungs. It means a different thing for my brain. It means a different thing for the words that will come out of my mouth or the listener's experience. It's meaning. It might not be significant meaning, but it means something. There's just not a meaning. You know, that's
other than we could try the whole love fear dichotomy, but then you don't know what if there's a third thing beyond love and fear. What if something that we just can't conceptualize because we're just these obtuse humans? Been watching a lot of old Star Trek The Next Generation, and it's great seeing the interactions between Q and Picard. They're my favorite.
Q is a good character.
Yeah, he's omnipotent.
He's the robot one, right?
No, that's Data. Q is this omnipotent god being that blinks into existence and just kind of toys with Picard and like the morality of humans and how they're always on trial and the trial never ends and like, are you worth keeping alive? And he can do literally anything, and he's immortal and eternal, and they're just annoyed by his existence.
By Q's existence?
Yeah, and he's from the continuum.
Yeah.
There's a Q continuum of all these omnipotent beings, and he just is fascinated with humanity and just has a lot of great lines, like, that begin with "you humans."
Yeah.
Like, you only see time this one way. You see life and death as these rigid things that can't be mixed together and pulled and stretched and mixed around, and it's easy to get stuck in that, like, where there's life at the beginning and there's death at the end, and time only goes one way, but you can just, standing outside of it, you can do whatever with it. It's just time. Who cares?
Right. And I mean, I think it's usually not even from a place of not caring. For me, when I experience it, it's often when I'm thinking about aging and getting old and just disintegrating, basically.
Oh, that's so rough.
And things falling apart and everything. And it's like, well, if that's where it's going, and that's where it goes for everybody, but it's that's not
me. I want to be one of those women that looks 40 but is 65. I'm not even a woman, but I will be one when I'm 65, and I'm going to be like, you bet I'm 40, right? And then I just like do all these moves and TikTok dances.
Why would you wait that long when we have a show that desperately needs more viewers and listeners?
What if we had one episode that was just a hit, that was just like, it just blew up, like everyone saw it, and then like a lot of people stay, but it doesn't become consistent, like billions of views. But what if one just gets like 8? No, there's not 8 billion people. What if it got 3 billion views just because we nailed it and we had just the right thumbnail?
Oh my God, I've had so many talks about algorithms with a few people in the last few days, and it's just the weird number of tricks and things like that you have to do to make these things happen, and that we don't have the vertical layout for TikTok and YouTube shorts and stuff, which are cool. Get on it. We're gonna have it starting now. Now he has to.
Yeah, don't stress the McCool. He's got urine to drink.
Stress. I know. But the thing about that is that it's like, I got that people were watching it on their phones and stuff, but it's an inferior way to view something, for sure.
Yeah, and this might be a fad. Maybe that's the way to beat the algorithm now, but who knows? Maybe in 3 years we will have done better, having stayed the course. The
algorithms will favor people that haven't been gaming the algorithms. The algorithms will figure out who's been doing all of the algorithm tricks.
Yeah. What if John Carmack figures out AGI, artificial general intelligence, within the next
I don't
few
know who
years?
that is.
He's the guy that made Doom, Wolfenstein 3D. Basically is responsible for a lot of huge leaps in 3D gaming, and just is called the best programmer of all time, which you can't really call someone the best programmer of all time, but he is. And he's currently working on artificial general intelligence, which is like, unified field theory of programming. And he believes that when you do come up with the code for it, it'll be it'll be simple and elegant and shorter than you'd think it'd be. And he said something about how even the brain, like a human brain, can be compressed into like 50 gigs or something like that, and that's not even with maximum compression. That's like with lots of like wasted code and inefficient stuff, because our brain is not efficient, perfect code. It's got a lot of wasted things running here, this subroutine, this. But if you figured that out, then the artificial intelligence algorithm would know when you're trying to game it, because it's smart, like a person is smart.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the amount of tool use and stuff that ants have, or crows or something like that, especially. And
What do crows have again?
Oh my God! We'll do a whole bird episode sometime.
What if we did
soon.
animal,
Maybe
not animal
one.
tool use? Or sorry, not animal, non-human tool use.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, crows. They give them all sorts of tests to figure out. It'll be like, to get a piece of food that's in a bottle, you need this stick, and they'll let go and they'll see the bottle, and then they'll just see the stick immediately and figure it out and stab the food or whatever and get it out. But then they'll put the stick in some other thing that they need another tool to get to the stick, to use the stick to get to that. And like any crow that's never seen this before, is in a lab for the first time, figures it out in like 15 seconds. Like no time at all. Maybe 15 seconds, exaggeration. But yeah, I'll brush up a little bit. We'll do a whole bird consciousness episode or something.
Nice. Could be good for Halloween because it's, murder of crows. And crows are Halloweeny in general. So maybe we'll time that around Halloween time.
Crows really like the kind of environment that humans like. So crows have followed humans
Recliner
around.
seats, central air conditioning.
Like a lot of... kind of. I mean, they've clearly like leached off of our scraps and things like that. But they like clearings more than a lot of other birds do. Like
What's a clearing? Where there's not stuff?
Like chopping down a bunch of trees and having a hole.
Clearings, yeah. That shows how much of an indoor cat I am.
Yeah.
An indoor city boy.
Yeah. And so we evolved alongside with them, and that's probably where a lot of the myths and stuff came from. And they can mimic. I actually didn't know that. Like parrots. Like crows, some species of crows can figure out how to say words.
Cool.
Not only that, they'll
Nevermore, quoth the raven.
You want to hear how fucking crazy? Yeah, and they do speak. Yeah, exactly.
Are ravens and crows the same?
They're in the same family of corvids, but yeah, there's corvids that will learn. They'll be around. They'll learn your like dog's name. They'll know that like when you call for Biscuit or whatever, they'll know that you're talking about this dog and that it has this effect, and they'll call Biscuit. Like if you put food out for Biscuit or whatever, they'll be like, Biscuit, and then Biscuit gets distracted because there's a fucking crow calling its name, and they'll swoop in and eat its food.
I had no idea.
Insanely smart. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense that it wouldn't just be parrots, and we often forget how crazy it is that parrots can do that, even if they don't know exactly what they're saying, like, or they do, but maybe not. They don't know complex sentences, but they can get words.
Parrots are mimicking. Corvids are doing impersonations. That's a different thing. It's one thing to actually just like try to say exactly what a human or something else said, or to mimic a sound or a sound of another.
Do you remember
it's quite
the one
another to know what it actually... to have theory of mind and to know the context of what, like, it's not crazy that a bird can say biscuit. What's crazy is for a bird to know that when it says biscuit, it's talking about biscuit, and it's going to have the intended result of calling to Biscuit to distract him so you can get to Biscuit's food. That's impersonation. They're two very, very different things. And parrots are more mimics.
That's cool. Yeah, crows are more devious, I guess. Do you remember that video of the bird that mimics, and there was a lot of deforestation going on near it, so it picked up the sounds of the machinery, and it would, I don't know if this was real, I think it was real, but it would make the buzzsaw sound, and it would even do the construction workers call to his wife and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a different bird that and that's a mimic. But it's really impressive. Is it in Australia? Hold on a second.
Bird mimic?
It's
the bird that can do anything. Also, we should...
we're wrapping up.
We got time. Good. And you, the listener, have time. Hope those dishes are going swimmingly. Hope those emails that you're trying to finish answering get answered. Hope your bank account is...
Well, you can see all of this. There's a Nat Geo video. It's not telling me what species it is. That's the thing that I'm a little surprised by. But it's easy to YouTube. You can get some quick clips of it. So anyway,
someone should start Nat Geo with a G, and then it's all about gnats, those little tiny bugs. And it's not about the whole world. It's just
a whole channel devoted to
not
gnats?
Even channel. Yeah, just network streaming platform bigger than Disney Plus.
Wow.
Nat Geo.
All gnats all the time. You would never get... It's one of my favorite things. There's a guy, Barrett Klein, that I've had on the Here We Are podcast.
Marketing
probably
guy?
More than anyone else. No, insect guy.
Oh, insect guy.
And his enthusiasm is just pure insanity. It's just, you'll never, but he's not like a dopey kind of enthusiasm. He is a very smart, very educated, very knowledgeable person, and you can see why. It's because he's like very passionate about what he does. And I can promise you that, like, if he were here right now and I asked him just to talk about how gnat wings work, just a random, how do gnat wings work, anything interesting about those, he would launch into the most enthusiastic. Imagine the most enthusiastic you've been about anything in your life, or like, I'm very excited about our Campout festival or whatever else. There has never been a moment in planning any of this where I've been anywhere near the level of enthusiasm that this guy has to just like understanding literally like bee's knees, like like every aspect of it.
Is it just with that stuff? And then like his wife is like waiting for him in bed, and he's just not. No,
he's excited, an enthusiastic character in general, and then insects is the thing that he latches on to.
I wanted to say that there's we need to appreciate more these brilliant optimists, because I feel like optimism is generally owned by idiots, and then pessimism is owned by intelligent people. And if you're pessimistic, then you're very intelligent, because, I know all these variables and I know where it's trending.
That's a very good point.
But then when there's someone who's brilliant and like is excited about gnat wings or bee's knees, then those are very special people.
They are very special people, and you're absolutely right. Yeah, that's definitely a story that I've told myself way too many times in my life, of my internal suffering as an aspect of what makes me such a genius, creative, this and that. God damn it.
Yeah, me too. But I try to snap out of it.
Yeah.
As long as you know it's happening and you occasionally snap out of it, that's the best you could do.
Right.
But just to own it.
Own it.
Yeah.
And with that...
That's it? No more quests? Should we do one more quest?
Well, you know what? We'll make a bonus episode.
Okay.
We'll make a bonus episode.
Screw you, other quests.
Coming out bonus episode, go to patreon.com/Mind Under Matter, where we...
Mind Under Pod.
Mind Under Pod, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the show is called Mind Under Matter, but the the little handles everywhere are Mind Under Pod.
I've had too much lucid mood. There is a $5, $10, $20, and $100 a month tier, and a lunatic tier. For $10,000, we'll make you a custom straight jacket and have you on our show to ask you why you gave us $10,000. We have 2 of those people. They're each getting their own private year, one of 6 years at the Lakeside Retreats, and they didn't know that when they signed up. That's just something. So
the rich get richer, except for that 10K they're out of, and that we've already spent.
And very fast. But yeah, go to Patreon because you'll get some bonus episodes and a bunch of content, and more importantly, this is how we exist. We don't do ads on this show, and if you like that we don't do ads, and even if you don't, you're like, I wish they sold ads on this show. Well, it's still a way of supporting us and getting bonus content. So go there. Looking forward to seeing those of you that are coming to the Mind Under Matter Campout September 9th through the 11th, with camping until the 12th, Patreon Day on the 8th. I'm especially excited about. So until next time.
Keep on salivating, honeys.